Hello team, welcome to another Kinstretch class. Today we're going to be working on getting some reps in of your controlled articular rotation, specifically for shoulder joint, as well as your spine, and we'll also be doing some higher intensity work for your hips in a quadruped position. We're going to be spending some time in quadruped, so you're going to want a yoga mat or something at least to put under your knees so that your knees don't get ouchy. And also we're going to ask that you grab a towel or a blanket. So go ahead and just pause the video and grab those items as needed, and then we can get started. All right, I'm going to have you warm up with some spinal articulation, just hands and knees, to work on flexion extension of your spine. And go ahead and push yourself a little bit behind your hands so that you have some good purchase on the ground with your legs. And then start to curl your tailbone under and let it be about a 50% effort car for this first set, so you can just feel most clearly what's going on with your spine. Now whenever I do these, I really want to emphasize the fact that we treat the spine almost as like another joint, but the reality is that it's actually 24 joints, and so we want to try to spend a little bit of time specifically at each segment. And really feel out how things might be different today. Feel if there's any new soreness. With the current events, there's probably a lot more sitting going on, or at least sitting in new positions. So it's always good to just check in and see how your spine is being affected by those new inputs. So go ahead and take your time. We'll be working on this for another 30-40 seconds. Keep those hands engaged with the floor. Keep your feet engaged. And as you notice various muscle contractions come online, see if you can keep them. So you're basically accumulating tension in your body, but you're fully in control the whole way. Great. Let's go ahead and make your way into extension one more time, Hannah. You might be hearing a little background noise. Turns out the work around our building is ongoing. Been deemed essential work by the city of Oakland, if you're curious. All right. Very nice. All right. And then go ahead and come down into a side lying position. And we can just use the arm as a little pillow or that towel. And pinning your hands to the floor, let's warm up our hips with a hip car. So drive that heel behind you. Find that contraction. Start to lift your shin to the ceiling. Smoothly arc your thigh forward. Bring it all the way around. And as your knee touches your other knee, take a moment and squeeze your knees tightly together. Notice what other contraction happens in your midsection and try to keep that on as we go the other way. Thigh to belly, shin to the ceiling. Rotate your thigh to reach your heel all the way back behind you. Trying your best to keep your hands heavy into the floor in front of you as you sweep your knee down and forward. Good. Brace for a second rep. So most of the CARS reps that we're doing today, we will be doing on a clock. So you'll just do as many reps as you can in that time, always moving with control, of course. But for this warm-up, we'll just do a couple reps of each to get things warmed up. Good. Keep breathing even as you're noticing that tension in your midsection. And it's such a good reminder with all these at-home workouts that we're all forced to do, that a lot of the benefit of the workout comes down to how much you are putting into it, how much tension you are driving to your joints. And you can really feel that now as you finish your rep and relax. Good. Let's go ahead and flip on over. And we'll do the other side. Good. So again, find your brace here. Lean your hands heavy into the floor and start up driving your top leg behind you. Finding end range extension. Start to lift your shin to the ceiling. When you can't lift it any higher, start to sweep your thigh forward. Really sending some awareness to your spine not moving. So you notice why we might have started with a spinal car. Knee on knee, try to feel that squeeze of your legs together and then go the other way. Start reaching your heel back behind you, and you're really searching for new sensations. So you just want to go slowly enough that you can pick up those new sensations as they present themselves. All the way around. Good. Take a breath, set your tension, maybe bring up the tension a little bit for this second rep. Try to build a little heat before we get into our main Kinstretch work today. Trying to get as many muscles around the hip joint firing as possible. There you go. Good. Very nice. See if you can reach into that back corner a little bit deeper than the first rep. If you find the beginnings of some cramping going on in the hip, that's always a nice surprise. And relax. All right. So now I'm going to have you come up to a tall kneeling or standing position, just an upright position for your torso, so that we can sort of introduce this shoulder car. So I'm going to have Hannah kind of turn. Yep. And we're going to be working specifically on the part of your shoulder car in the area behind you. We say into glenohumeral extension all the way up to a T position. So you're going to brace the rest of your body nice and tight. You can use your other hand to feel that. And then you're going to take your working arm and fully internally rotate it. So really focus on rotating the upper arm. You can maybe wind out a bit more tension rotating your wrist, but we want to focus on that upper arm. Then start to reach your arm behind you, trying to hold on to that rotation that you found. When you can't reach any further, start to unwind into external rotation as you start your sweep back and up, really trying to feel for each end range position, just raising your wrist to shoulder height. Once you're here, rotate your bicep back into internal rotation, and then keep rotating as you sweep your arm back behind you. Good. We'll keep working on that for another 60 seconds. I'm just going to cue and point out a few spots that you can bring some extra awareness. So as you reach your arm behind you, really try to feel the specific contraction in the back of the armpit, even down the arm. And then as you start to rotate and sweep your arm behind you, feel that contraction spill over to some other tissue that is specific to that angle. Good. And then right here, hold and try to reach your arm further back without turning your torso. And then use that effort to begin your internal rotation coming back around. Very nice. Good. Let's go ahead and take it for one more rep. We'll have time. See if you can't squeeze that fist if you're using a fist, or maybe just reach your arm a little straighter if you're using a blade in your hand. Very nice. So as you're focusing on contraction, you can also notice the resulting stretch on the front of your chest, front of your shoulder, and down your arm, and really trying to maximize that stretch feeling via your own contraction. Nice. Very nice, Hannah. All right. Let's go ahead and turn around and get the other side. Good. So again, notice the brace in the rest of your body. Use your other hand to moderate your ribs, and then internally rotate your bicep and reach your arm behind you. When you hit end range, start to roll your arm into external rotation and really reach back behind you into as much retraction as you can. And then making sure the elbow stays straight, start rotating internally to come back and all the way smooth back to your hip. Sometimes I like to imagine there's a wall right next to me and I'm trying to reach my arm as far behind as I can without hitting that wall, and start to sweep around. Good. Nice and slow, pausing at about shoulder height, feeling the contraction in the back of your arm, back of your armpit, so that you're only moving at that spot where your arm meets your torso. You're not letting your neck get involved. You're not letting your spine turn towards that moving arm. Good. Last rep. Let's see if Hannah can generate a little bit of a cramp in the arm. Good. What would it take to reach 1% further behind you without turning your chest at all? Good. Start to internally rotate to make your way back, winding out as much rotational effort as you can at every angle. and relax. Nice. Hopefully you're really generating some heat now, and we're ready to get into some more specific spinal work. So you're going to come down onto your back now, and we'll leave the towel on the side for now. Okay, and we want to work here on the specific segments of your spine at the very bottom of your spine. So I'm going to have Hannah just place hands right at the base of the rib cage and feel that area settle down into the floor. Think heavy rib cage, and really try to feel what muscles turn on to create that heaviness. All right, and then start to peel just the very bottom of your spine, just curling your tailbone away from the floor, and stop as soon as you notice the contraction below your belly button. Okay, so below your belly button meaning towards your belt line. All right, and then start placing your tailbone back down on the floor and tilt your tailbone into the floor. So you're just starting to feel the hip crease increase in terms of tightness. All right, and then start peeling that tailbone away from the floor, trying to open or stretch the hip crease area, and then go the other way. Reaching your tailbone into the floor and trying to increase the crease at your hip. Back and forth. So essentially, I'm just asking you to move your pelvis back and forth. Because your pelvis is connected to your spine, I think there's a song in there somewhere, your spine will move a little bit, but we're trying to mitigate as much motion as possible in the spine and maximize the motion right at that pelvic spinal junction. Back and forth. Give me another 30 seconds, ramping up the effort as you feel it to move your pelvis tailbone away from the floor and tailbone towards the floor. Letting it be a small motion and just trying to notice what muscles are involved with that small motion. Nice, Hannah. Let's go ahead and just do one more rep into flexion, curling that tailbone away from the floor, and just hold it there. Notice your ab muscles. Try to let your legs go a little bit if you're feeling your legs doing most of that work, and relax. All right, so we're going to build on that when we come back. Now let's come up to quadruped again. And this time you're going to kickstand your leg out to the side. So let's just scooch this way a bit. So kickstand one leg out, doesn't matter which, we will be doing both. And take a moment to feel a little stretch in your inner thigh on this kickstand leg. So depending on your flexibility here, on the range of motion that you have access to, you might need to slide your straight leg further out to get a stretch, or you might just need to bias or turn your pelvis towards the floor a little bit to get that stretch sensation. All right, now for this first round, we're just going to stay isometric, meaning no movement, but maximize the contraction of the tissue. So I'm going to have you start pushing your opposite hand into the floor extra hard, and as you do that, start to push your kickstand leg into the floor and feel that pressure initiate. Notice what muscles turn on when you do that pressure, and then start to ramp that pressure up both underneath your hand and your straight leg foot. Ramp it up to 50% effort, 60% effort, 70% effort, and hold it there. Good. And relax that effort. Now, instead of pushing with your opposite hand, you're going to start pushing with the same side hand, really feeling that hand get heavier, and use that as a post, a support post, to start thinking light with the straight leg. So in a moment, we are going to actually lift the leg off the floor, but for now, you're just trying to feel what muscles would be involved with that lift effort. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Excellent. Let's do one more rep here for this leg. So take a breath, reset your system. Make sure you're still feeling a stretch in your inner thigh. You might have to adjust for this second rep. Start to make your opposite hand heavy into the floor and your straight leg. As you begin to increase the tension there, start to feel that you have so much pressure through that straight arm on the opposite side that you could maybe lift your other arm off the ground. Keep ramping up effort to 50%, 60%, 70%, and keep building effort to your greatest safe effort for 8 more seconds. You got this, Hannah. Good. Really pushing. 2, 1, and set that arm down. Okay. Start to really generate a similarly intense contraction through now this same side arm. So much pressure that you could maybe take your other hand away. And then really ramp up the effort of trying to lift your straight leg off the floor. Good. If you start to feel a cramp sensation anywhere down the side of your hip, you are doing it right. Give me 5 more seconds of effort, trying to put a hole through the floor with this hand as you try to float that leg off the ground. 2, 1, and relax. Nice. All right, let's go ahead and turn around, get the other side. Very nice. Kickstand that leg out. Notice the stretch on the inner thigh tissue. All right. And then start from a low amount of tension, start ramping up pressure of your straight leg as well as your opposite arm pushing into the floor. As you begin to notice that contraction, ramp it up to 30% effort, 40%, 50% effort, 60%, and 70% effort. Really trying to specifically train the tissue that was just stretching a moment ago. I really want you to think about that as we're holding this. 5, 4, 3, 2, and relax. As you let the tension dissipate, notice the stretch. You might need to slide the foot or turn your pelvis, even in a micro adjustment, more towards the floor. And then start making your same side arm heavy into the ground. Really feeling that pressure through that hand. Use that to start thinking light with the straight leg. And notice what muscles turn on the outside of the hip, but also down that side of your body. Ramp this up to your greatest safe effort. And hold on to that effort. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Relax. Nice. All right. Let's go ahead and get a second follow-up rep. Finding the stretch. And start pressuring your opposite arm into the floor. As you do so, press your straight leg into the floor. Feel that connection across your body. And feel that connection start to come up. 40% effort, 50. At about 60, you might feel that you can take your other arm off the ground and nothing else will move. Keep ramping up intensity, connecting those points, straight leg, foot, and opposite arm. Bring it up to your greatest safe effort and hold on to that effort. Train that inner thigh tissue as well as all your ab muscles that are involved. 3, 2, 1, and relax. Okay, final rails contraction for this position. Start to feel the heaviness in your same side arm. Really generate that as a stable point, and then use it to start feeling your straight leg getting lighter on the floor. You might also think of trying to increase the stretch in your inner thigh via the contraction on the outside of your hip. Let's ramp this up to your greatest safe effort. Hand is already there, and hold on to it. 6 seconds. Good. Keep outputting effort. 3, 2, 1, and relax. Very nice. Okay, and melt it down. Let's go ahead and get back to the shoulder carve for a second. And this time we're going to progress it to a quadruped position. Now this can be a little bit tiring for the arms, but no harm in a little workout. So just give your wrists a moment to breathe. Might give them some little circles. Just find what feels good at the wrist for now. Okay, and then make your way back into quadruped. And yeah, I'm just going to have you turn this way. Perfect. All right, now just like before, you're going to start with your working arm right by your hip. So I'm going to have her reach her arm by the hip. Before moving behind, she's going to rotate into internal rotation as much as possible. And you can again imagine a wall next to you. You're going to try to stay off that wall as you begin lifting your wrist up as high as you can. When you can't lift any higher, start using that external rotation to sweep your arm behind you right until it's in line with your shoulder, and then pause. Internally rotate the upper arm and use that to reach even higher back behind you, and then back to the hip. Now she's going to keep going with these. Please follow along. And just notice how hard your down arm is working to support the movement of this moving arm. As you reach back behind you, notice how you can use rotation to get a little deeper into the joint each time. Great, we got 30 seconds to go. Make sure this feels a little bit more intense in terms of contraction than the first round. Good. And one more rep, you got it. All the way out. If you need to sneak a peek out to that arm and make sure it gets all the way to shoulder height, that's totally fine. And then you really utilize that rotation to get the arm all the way back and relax. Nice. All right, let's turn around, get the other side. Turns out Hannah has to do some work here today. Okay.
Oh no.
All right, so post up on this side. Arm starts right at the hip. Really wind up as much rotation as you can, and then start reaching that arm up behind you. When you can't reach any further, use external rotation to start sweeping around to the side, and notice that contraction at the back of the joint as you reverse the direction and start your way back to your hip and back down. Now Hannah's doing a great job of this, but it's very tempting to let your scapula slide forward off of your rib cage. So as the arm is moving, go just slow enough that you can feel that shoulder blade basically stay put. We don't want it to be moving around too much. 35 seconds. Keep working. Keep feeling that down arm is working as hard or harder than the moving arm. And keep making sure that your wrist gets all the way to shoulder height. There we go. And then reversing the rotation to get back. Good. We got time for one more rep. Keep breathing, team. Good. Hard work is not a bad thing here. Really lean into that effort. Nice. And really feeling the stretch at the front of the arm, front of the chest, and relax. Great. All right, now a little break for your wrists as you come down onto your back. And this time you are going to snag your blanket or towel, whatever you might have for a little padding. And you want something that's basically shaped like how we have here. Okay? A few inches thick. It's going to be comfortable to put your back on. And it's going to provide us just a little bit of height. You're going to start by placing this right underneath your rib cage. All right? And try to feel for a second in just a relaxed way how it sort of helps to extend your upper back. That's a spot on most of us that we really struggle to get extension, especially when we're rounded over a computer. Okay? So take a moment to just feel that passive opening stretch for the front of your rib cage. And then this also buys us a little space to work a little higher up on the spine. So before we were working just on the pelvis, now we're going to incorporate pelvic motion into lumbar motion in the bottom of your spine. But again, we want the rest of the spine to stay pretty still and stiff. So go ahead, place your hands right on your rib wings, right at the bottom of your rib cage, and try to press your ribs into the floor, or into the towel rather, not just with your hands, but actually with the active effort of your torso. Okay? So you feel that effort maintained. Now this time, as you start to curl your tailbone up away from the floor, I want you to continue trying to curl your spine away from the floor all the way until you feel like you're going to start peeling your spine away from the towel. So go ahead and lift your pelvis. Your legs now will be definitely involved, but I want you to stop your progression up your spine once you feel like you would be peeling away from the towel. Then to make your way back, you're going to start reaching your tailbone back towards the floor. And really feel a nice open space underneath that lower back. So take a moment here and really try to reach your belly button to the ceiling. All right. So we have sort of two extremes. We have that arched extreme, and now we're going to look for that flexion shape. So start curling your tailbone away from the floor. Really peel it as far as you can away. And you're looking for a stretch in your low back and tailbone area while your abs are really contracting. Okay? Now on your way back down, start trying to articulate from the towel down into extension. So you're trying to reach your lower back towards the floor, and then finally your tailbone towards the floor. And when your tailbone gets down, see if you can max out that extension through your lower back. Reach your belly button for the ceiling or for your knees. All right, let's try one more. Curl your tailbone away from the floor. As that starts to come up, feel your legs help you do more curling. And then really try to stretch out each segment between your tailbone and the towel. And then as you come back, start placing your spine back towards the floor. So you're working into extension. There we go. Good. And when you finish up, you'll feel that tailbone reaching into the floor and those hip creases again. Yes. Good. All righty. And let's relax that. Come back to quadruped with a kickstand. So again, we want to start here with a stretch feeling in the inner thigh. Okay, so you'll slide away as needed. And this time we're going to keep both hands on the ground just so you feel really nice and stable. And we want to work on finding the position that you can actually hold the weight of your leg off the floor. So begin by making your same side hand really nice and heavy. Start trying to make the leg feel light. Okay, really generate that contraction. Feeling the contraction from your armpit all the way through the side of your hip and down that leg. And then start turning your body, turning your belt buckle towards your straight leg until you can actually lift your straight leg off the floor. As soon as it comes up, you're going to hold that position. 5, 4, 3, 2. Keep your body still and set the leg down. Find your stretch again. Okay, rep number 2. Create that rails contraction, heavy same side arm. And then start to turn your belt buckle just enough to actually lift the foot. There it is. Hold it. 4, 3, 2, 1. Melt it down. Good. Let's do 2 more reps. Make that hand heavy. Start turning your belt buckle. And lift the leg. Hold it there. 5, 4, 3, 2, and set it down. Final rep. Make sure that the leg isn't sneaking behind you at all, but it's staying right out to the side in a kickstand. Feeling that stretch. And heavy hand, light leg. Turn your pelvis and find that space off the floor. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Shake and bake for the win. I love it. Let's do the other side. Okay.
So much fun already.
Oh, fun. That's the word for it. I always forget that. Okay. Here we go on this side. Finding the stretch in the inner thigh. Once you feel it, post up on that same side arm, really nice and heavy. Use that contraction to start making the leg feel light. And it's going to be different on this side. As you start to try to turn your pelvis, notice when you can get the leg off the floor. This is even almost more height than you need. So next round, we're going to pause even earlier. 3, 2, and 1. Relax it. Nice. Okay, so as you hone in on it, find that stretch. Heavy hand into the floor. And let it be a micro motion from your pelvis to turn towards the leg so that it's only a centimeter or so off the floor that you're holding. Nice, Hannah. Good. Control is the goal. 3, 2, 1. Set it down. Good. Make sure you're breathing in between reps because this is a near maximum effort with the foot off the floor. Heavy hand, light leg, turn your pelvis, and hold it. Very nice. Try to increase the stretch in your inner thigh by lifting the foot higher. And set it down. Great, last one. Whole body experience here. Heavy arm, light leg. Turn to lift it and hold it right there. Good. Don't let it collapse towards the ground, team. 3, 2, 1, and relax. Great stuff. Okay. Now for our final round with the shoulder, we're going to work into a position that we couldn't really think of a name for it. So we came up, what do we decide?
Seated crab.
Seated crab, or maybe reclined crab. We'll leave it up to you. Maybe leave us a comment. Okay, so you're going to have a seat. Place your hands behind you. Let's see a crab position so that people could see what we mean by a crab. Okay, so you might recognize from grade school. But I'm actually having you start with your hands turned behind. And make sure you don't get so far behind you that you feel any tension, or too much tension, I should say, in your elbows. Okay? Now, you might notice that this is similar to the shape that you were just articulating with your shoulder car. So that means that as soon as we lift off, we should be near an end range position on this working arm. So brace the rest of your body, especially feel your opposite arm, your non-moving arm, get really heavy into the floor. And then make sure that as you start to lift this arm off the ground, that nothing else in your body moves. Okay? So I'm going to have her lift. Good. And just hold it there for a moment. Notice that same contraction that we had and wind up as much internal rotation as you can. And now externally rotate and start to sweep that arm behind up to shoulder height. And then pause there, internally rotate, come back and just tap the floor. Don't set the arm down, just tap the floor and continue moving. Good. Now let's say you try one rep like this and you're like, no way, Will, this does not feel good on my down arm. That's fine. You're just going to go back to your quadruped or your tall kneeling position. Hannah's going to keep crushing this position for 40 more seconds. Good. And as we increase the demand of the exercise, we got to keep coming back. Is the sternum turning towards the arm? Good. Is the neck trying to get involved? Is there any more rotation that you can find now that your brain has had a chance to really feel out this movement? Great work. Final 10 seconds. I think we got one more rep. Really trying to carve out as much rotation as you can and open the front of the shoulder as much as you can. And go ahead, finish this rep. Nice. Okay, let's turn around, get the other side. If you're following along at home, you don't have to turn around. You can just stay put. Okay, so really brace through this down arm. Feel as much bracing through the rest of your body as you can. And then float this working arm and just notice for a second that nothing else has moved. Then internally rotate as much as you can, and here we go. Start to externally rotate to come around. Pause there. Make sure your chest is as stretched as possible as you internally rotate and reach your way back. Good. All the way back. Tap the floor to know you can't go any further, and then start another rep. Now again, Hannah's doing a super nice job of not letting that scapula jump in too much, but just send some awareness to that area. Make sure your neck is not trying to pretend to be a shoulder. We really want the shoulder to do all the shouldering today. Okay? Sorry. To shoulder the load. Ooh, bad puns coming at you. All right. Feel that down arm, again, working even harder than the moving arm. You got 20 seconds, Hannah. You got 20 seconds at home, too. Good. A little tighter fist, a little more pressure from the other arm, a little more contraction you're noticing in your abs. Try to reach that wrist even further behind you and relax it down. Excellent. Okay? Now, final spinal articulation. You're going to put your shoulders on the towel now. So try to really feel for the kind of top edge of your scapula. Maybe just scooch down a tad more. Yep. Cool. And notice that your head relaxes down on the floor here. And that's part of why we wanted this setup, is because as we start to articulate your spine up towards the ceiling, it can kind of crunch up at your neck. So we wanted to provide a little bit of height there underneath the shoulder blades. So here you can put your hands down by the side because we're going to be moving the rest of the spine. And as we work through this next spinal articulation focus, we're going to be focusing now on your rib cage or thoracic spinal area. If it feels like a little too much in your lower back, you can just regress back to the version we did a moment ago, focusing on your lumbar. All right? So go ahead and brace your body. Create some stiffness by squeezing both hands into fists. And then start like we started the last couple rounds, curling your tailbone away from the floor. Once it starts to peel up, allow it to continue peeling spine away from the floor, trying to shorten the front of your spine as much as you can as you extend your hips up away from the floor. Now, Hannah's going to keep going all the way up, trying to reach her spine even in the rib cage area away from the floor. All right, and then she's going to hold this position in the hips and just try to sink the sternum towards the floor without letting the hips relax. All right, and then pause there and start to reach the ribs away from the floor. So we're just moving the rib cage open on the front and then closed on the front. As she continues working, you can keep your hands out on the sides, but I'm going to ask Hannah to just place her hands right on the sternum to give a little bit of a guidance of what she's working on here. So as she comes up, she's trying to push sternum into her hand, and then as she comes down, she's trying to round around that hand. Really helps to get some tactile feedback into the system. Go ahead, keep working, 15 more seconds. Trying to really notice that contraction in the upper back in particular. Good. Last rep, all the way up. Nice. Now on this trip all the way back down to the floor, try to segment your spine from your neck down to your ribs, trying to push towards the floor, down into your lower back, trying to push into the floor, and then finally relaxing as your tailbone comes down to the floor. Okay, very nice. And we will finish up in quadruped one more time.
With the crazy ponytail.
Here we go, crazy pony. Okay, so again in kickstand, this time we're going to progress it just a bit further by actually working on the lift and lower. So now we're going to be staying in a position where you could lift and lower your leg. So again, we're going to rely on the same side arm to really provide some stability and brace. Turn on the rails contraction, meaning make your leg feel light. Turn your pelvis just enough to lift the leg, and then hold it there. Hold your body still in space and lower the heel to tap the floor and right back up. Up and down, 30 seconds, smooth on the way down, fast on the way up, really tuning in to make sure that your pelvis is not turning. Nice work. 15 more seconds. If this is easy, you're not quite doing it right. Keep trying to find that contraction on the outside of your hip. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Very nice. Let's go ahead and try the other side. Good. Again, starting in a spot where you're noticing a stretch in your inner thigh. Make that down arm heavy as you make the out leg light. Turn your pelvis just enough to find your end range lift off, and then tap the floor with your heel and right back up. Keep going up and down smooth, up fast, without letting your pelvis turn with the motion of your leg. It's just staying right in place. 15 seconds, team. Good. Heavy palm into the floor. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Relax. Wow. All right. Very nice job, and we'll see you tomorrow.